Viewer discretion is advised.
Just when I think that this franchise could not possibly go any lower, it goes right through the fucking basement floor and right into the center of the earth. This film left me speechless. I was just like, I can't believe it. This managed to be an even bigger fuck up than Curse of Chucky. It's astonishing. It's an absolutely astonishingly awful film. Why the fuck does this movie get an 81% in Rotten Tomatoes? I know it's Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm not putting a lot of stake in Rotten Tomatoes, personally, but I don't get it. I don't get the praise this film gets at all. I didn't get the praise that the previous film in the franchise got either, but at least that film tried to be a straightforward horror film and went back to the roots of the original Child's Play. This shit just goes back to the stupid shit we saw in Seed of Chucky. Which is like, great. Wonderful. Let's go back to the type of filmmaking where you saw the brilliant image of Chucky masturbating. Yeah, let's go back to that style of filmmaking. Let's go back to that type of storytelling for this franchise. How about not? How about we don't do that? How about we kick Don Mancini's fucking dumb ass out of this franchise and get somebody to do a Child's Play film who actually knows what the fuck they're doing when it comes to directing, writing, or anything? How about that? How about we get somebody who actually knows what the fuck they're doing? Instead of this fucking dipshit, dumbass motherfucker and Don Mancini who wouldn't know his ass from a fucking hole in the ground. So Dan... I'm so pissed at Don, I can't even fucking remember his name correctly. And I'm flubbing my words. This movie pisses me off. Because this movie is what I like to call the Child's Play franchise's last rites. Well, at least it should be. This should be the last film in the franchise. It should be taken out back somewhere and shot in the back of the fucking head. To put it out of its misery so you don't have to see any more of these embarrassingly bad sequels from this obsessive fucking creator, Don Mancini. And I put creator in air quotes because he's taking way too much credit for this franchise that he doesn't fucking deserve. His original script for Child's Play was full of some stupid shit and was rewritten. And it was rewritten for a good reason. Tom Holland came in, did a rewrite, and he is, in my opinion, way more responsible for this franchise's success or the ability for it to get off the ground than Don Mancini is. He might have done some decent work for films like Child's Play 2 and did some alright work on maybe the third film, but ever since Child's Play 3, this franchise has been on a continual decline, a continual slide right into the fucking shitter. And the number one person who is to blame for that is Don Mancini. He is the fucking problem. He is the fucking cancer of this franchise. This franchise is not going to get any better unless he is fucking removed. So I'm just trying to take a deep breath, relax a little bit, save some energy, because I got so much more. I got so many more epic fails to discuss about Cult of Chucky. Before I get into that, I want to do a quick rundown on the cast and the crew. Then I want to mention things about the film that I actually didn't hate, that I actually thought were legitimately good or worth mentioning. And then get to the cavalcade of fucking problems and issues and fails that I personally saw in Cult of Chucky. Now, the biggest problem that this film has is all tied to its writer and its director, Don Mancini. Don Mancini is a fucking dipshit. He unravels everything that this franchise had set up to this point with this film. He just says, oh, continuity? Fuck that. Oh, all this other shit? Fuck that. Oh, let's just have Chucky be fucking unstoppable and have a fucking cheat code and you do whatever the fuck he wants. And have one of the most moronic fucking reasonings for why he is able to do that. And if I flub my words, if I stumble, if I stutter, I apologize. But this film just irritates the fuck out of me. And it's... I feel like I'm having like an aneurysm or some shit just thinking about this movie. So Don Mancini directed this film, and his directing sucks. Don Mancini is the type of director who thinks that just because they have these fancy shots strewn throughout the film, that means that it's good directing. But the problem with that is they don't mean anything. They're just there. They're window dressing. That's all they are. There's no point to them. They're not used properly. This is just fancy direction for the sake of fancy direction. And it's Don Mancini's half-assed attempt at showing off. At showing the audience, look at me! I'm the director now! That's really what it is. He doesn't know how to use these shots properly. This is painfully evident when he's shooting gore sequences with practical effects. He's choosing to shoot these scenes in stark white light in a mental institution. You're a fucking dipshit, Don. You can't shoot gore scenes with heavy latex effects in stark white light. You should know this already. You were on the set on all of these other Child's Play films. Did any of the directors do that shit? No, they didn't. Because they know that if you do that, you make the effect look fake as fuck. You're full of shit, Don. You're a full of shit director. You're a fake as fuck director. And you should be ashamed of yourself. And if that isn't bad enough, his writing is equally as bad, if not even worse. I don't know what he is smoking or what drugs he is taking when he is writing the screenplays for these films. But whatever it is, keep it as far away from me as humanly possible, because that's some bad fucking shit that I don't want anywhere near me. I'm just going to give you one quote from this script. Okay, and then I'll go more in depth on some of this stuff later when I talk about this film's problems and the things about it that I absolutely hated. But I'm going to give you this quote that really encapsulates how fucking shitty of a writer Don Mancini is. There's a scene in the mental institution. There's this lady who is tied up to a gurney. She's strapped to a gurney. Chucky shows up. He grabs a can of compressed air and he looks at it, and then he says this line of dialogue. Compressed? Is that what I think it means? Really? I'm not sure. That's Don's excuse for a fucking one-liner. That's what is it. That's what he constitutes as dialogue. Make Chucky sound like a fucking dumbass. Great. Yeah, I never really thought Charles Lee Ray was a rocket scientist, but I also didn't think that he was such a fucking dipshit that he wouldn't know what compressed means. Dawn, is your brain compressed? Because that's the only explanation that I can come up with for why your writing is this shitty. I love Based on Characters by Don Mancini. Yeah, let's not give Tom Holland any credit for what he did for Child's Play. Yeah, take all the credit, Don, like the George Lucas of the Child's Play franchise, you piece of shit. It stars Fiona Dourif, who reprises her role as Nika from the previous film. You have Michael Therault, who plays Dr. Foley, who I like to call Dr. Full of Shit because he's full of it. Adam Hertig as Multiple Malcolm. Might as well be Adam Hurting because this film hurts. It hurts to watch. It hurts to sit through. It even hurts to talk about because my throat is starting to hurt and I blame this fucking movie. Alex Vincent comes back as Andy, and I'll talk about that later. Elizabeth Rosen plays Madeline. Gracelyn Kung plays Claire. Marina Stephenson Kerr plays Angela. You have Zach Santiago, who plays a nurse named Carlos. You have Ali Tatarin, who plays a nurse named Ashley. You have Jennifer Tilly, who grabs a paycheck as Tiffany Valentine. You also have Brad Dourif, who comes back to voice Chucky and sounds bored as fuck. Sounds like he's done with this franchise. Sounds like he doesn't give a shit anymore. And I don't blame Brad. Brad's probably like, I am an amazing actor. I am extremely talented. And all of the roles that I can get lately are voicing this stupid killer doll in these shitty direct-to-video sequels to Child's Play. Alright. What dumbass line of dialogue do you want me to say now, Don? I mean, really, that's you can hear the apathy. You can hear the just I don't give a fuck in Brad Dourif's voice in this film, and I can't blame him. I mean, you take the money, but at the same time, you're like, fuck, I'm better than this. And I wish I was somewhere else. You also have Christina Leese, who played Kyle in Child's Play 2. She has a little cameo role at the end, which makes you want to smack your head off of the nearest fucking wall, because it's another one of those cameos, just like Curse of Chucky, that's like, wow, why wasn't this beloved character in the film earlier? Why am I not watching the film that takes place after the film that I just sat through, that felt like I was getting a blowtorch to my fucking balls? Why am I not watching the movie that comes after that? I mean, these post-credit sequences don't help the film. They make it worse. Made the same mistake. He made the same fuck up that he did in the last film. So that's the cast. You have a score by Joseph Loduca, which is shit. Forgettable shit. Cinematography by Michael Marshall. Nothing that was really that impressive or worth mentioning or noteworthy. Edited by Randy Bricker, which is about as subtle and effective as a brick to the fucking face. The editing in this is just terrible. It is absolutely egregious. I don't know what the fuck is going on sometimes. There's all these shots that are kind of, it feels like there's might be scenes missing at times, but not all the time. But it does feel, the editing in this, it's kind of a hack job. It just feels like it's just, shit is just slapped together. And I don't know if the editing is to blame. It might just be the screenplay, because the script doesn't explain anything, leaves you left alone in the dark, not knowing what the fuck is going on or why it's happening for an hour and 10 fucking minutes, and then it has an exposition dump that explains shit. So maybe it's not the editing, but what is up with the split screens and shit after the 40-minute mark? There's just a random scene, and all of a sudden, outside in the snow, and all of a sudden, the screen starts splitting off like it's Ang Lee's the Hulk. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, the rest of the film had no split screen editing, had nothing like that, and then like 40-something minutes in the movie, all of a sudden, the editing is schizophrenic, and it's trying to be like Ang Lee. I don't get it. And then it did it again in one scene when you have Andy is talking to Jennifer Tilly over the phone, and there's another split screen. And then you never see split screen editing again for the rest of the film. And I'm stuttering because I'm like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. Is Don to blame for this? Or is it the brick to the face editor? Is it both? I don't know. Whoever is to blame for that shit should be fired. Because that's stupid. And that's annoying. And it's just distracting. The film runs for 91 minutes, and it feels like 391. I've read some reviews where some critics are saying it's like fast-paced and entertaining. Maybe you watched a different cut than I did, because what I saw was 40 minutes of jack fucking shit, except for Chucky's head getting high, some old chick getting killed with what looked like a paperclip, got her wrist slit by Chucky, Jennifer Tilly's character showing up for a paycheck, a couple other dolls showing up good guy dolls showing up at the institution, and a stupid scene where Dr. Full of Shit is a fucking dumbass that would really put Dr. Seaton, Dr. Sit on My Face, and Sit on My Dick from Poltergeist 3 to shame. In terms of how stupid his reaction is. And I'll get more in depth on that when I talk about the film's flaws. And apparently this film actually had a screening at the BronyCon. What the fuck? What the fuck does Chucky have to do with bronies? Right, it's fitting. It's fitting. This fucking horse shit gets played at the BronyCon. And I guess there was a BronyCon version of the film. What, did they add some fucking My Little Ponies and shit into the film? If that's the case, I kind of almost want to see that. That would definitely be something else. Now let's actually get to the good shit. Let's actually talk about the shit about this that actually isn't a total fucking waste of your time. That actually isn't that bad. And I'm going to start off with Fiona Dourif. I feel that Fiona Dourif was, without a doubt, the best thing about this film. Her performance was good. I thought it was an improvement over her performance in the last film. And even though I'm not a big fan of the whole twist near the end, I have to give Fiona a lot of credit. She did an excellent job channeling her father and playing a psycho. I just wish that she played that character in a different film that had nothing to do with this franchise and was just playing a psychopathic serial killer. And that type of performance is showing me that maybe she has some potential. Maybe she can carry the reins of her father and get more roles in the future playing these creepy, demented sort of serial killer characters that Brad was known for. And it would be refreshing to see a female actress play that type of role. So I have to give credit where credit is due when it comes to Fiona. That being said, she's really the only other actor. She's the only actor in the film that honestly was legitimately good. Everybody else was pedestrian or awful, including Brad Dourif as Chucky, because he just didn't give a fuck. Like, his voiceover sounded tired, and there wasn't much to it. And he had much else to say either. He had shitty lines of dialogue to say, made a half-assed reference to Cuckoo's Nest. This is a regular Cuckoo's Nest. Yeah, reference an Academy Award-winning film in your flaming pile of fucking shit, Dawn. Yeah, that's a brilliant fucking idea. No, it's not, you dipshit. Or another great line of dialogue, which actually comes after the compressed line. Chucky says, "Sometimes I even scare myself." And it doesn't make any sense in the context of the scene. So yeah, Brad Dourif is not good. And I pretty much... I'm supposed to talk about good things, but then I got distracted and I'm talking about bad things again. It's because there isn't much good in this fucking shit, okay? Most of it is bad. You can't blame me. What else is there about this film that doesn't suck a bag of fucking dicks? Oh, there's one kill. There's one gore scene I didn't mind, where Dr. Full of Shit gets his face stomped in by Fiona Dourif, and it's actually a practical effect, and for once it's actually shot properly. So that was actually a decent scene. I liked that, and I hated that guy, so that was a crowd-pleasing moment. But it's like 15 seconds of the film's running time? And some of the practical effects on Chucky, I think they're done by K&B or Robert Kurtzman. Some of them are alright, some of them are fine. And I like the idea of having the film take place in a mental institution, but they didn't do anything with it. It was nice to see Christine Elise again, but they did nothing with her, and it seems... Oh, excuse me, this movie just gives me indigestion. Ugh, makes me want to hurl. But anyway, it's nice seeing Christine Elise again, but she's wasted. And she's going to be wasted in if there is a next film in the series. Because what the fuck does she have to do now? That's all. That's it. That's all I have to say when it comes to positives about this film. Okay? Now we get to the cons. And there's a cavalcade of them. Because this film is a catastrophe. It all starts at the top with Don. With Don dipshit Mancini. With his direction that's way too artsy-fartsy for its own good. The film opens up with like a shot from the ground, looking up at like a skyscraper and some shit. It's like, what are you trying to do here with this? This doesn't add anything to the scene. Why are you shooting this random shot of a skyscraper like this? He doesn't know how to work with his actors either, because he doesn't know how to bring the best performances out of them. I think Fiona Dourif just basically ignored his direction and just did whatever. Because I find it hard to believe that Don Mancini is actually the type of director who knows how to get the most out of his actors. He decides that he's going to have this institution be completely bathed in bright white light and all these white walls and shit, and make a potentially interesting location completely fucking boring and bland. And on top of that, it takes place in the winter for some reason. So now you have, even the outside is bland looking. So you had the inside, the interiors are bland and are just completely blank. And then you have the outside locations and everything is covered in snow, so it's equally as bland and as bleak and as forgettable. It's like, this adds nothing to the film. This is not an aesthetic that works, because you just have too much fucking white to the point where it's like, I might as well just be watching a white screen with dialogue dubbed over it. The shots, when you have any kind of gore, except for minor exceptions, are overdone because Don is a shitty director. There's a scene where a guy gets a drill through his eye, and it's just that there's no subtlety, there's no attempts to do any kind of directing tricks or any kind of camera tricks to make the scene more effective or to add different lighting to it. It's just drill to the eye, and it's just, there's nothing to it. It's the type of direction you'd see from some hack. And that's precisely what Don is. He's a fucking hack. And you have there's other like just inexplicable sort of stupid shit in this film. Like there's a scene that I have to blame Don for, because I highly doubt that this is something that was, well, if it wasn't a script, I could blame him for it too, because he wrote this shit. But there's a scene where Fiona Dorff's character Nika is like having a nightmare, and she sees a giant Chucky, and it's done in CGI, and it looks fucking horrible. It looks completely, totally fake. Looks like something out of the Sci-Fi Channel. And then if that isn't bad enough, then you have shots from Child's Play 3 when Chucky falls into the fan at the end. You know, when he's falling and he's going to fall into the fan at the end of Child's Play 3 in the funhouse. You have a random shot from Child's Play 3 that's just randomly inserted into this nightmare sequence. And it doesn't make any fucking sense. It's about as... I'm just trying to think of the right word. I'm sorry. This film just makes so many decisions. Just leave me speechless. I don't have the words to describe how fucking stupid these decisions are. So, yeah, I didn't get that at all. Was that just to pad the running time? You also have a scene that's like done in slow motion, but then not. So like CGI glass explodes and slices off some chick's head in slow motion, but then it cuts later and her head is rolling around on the floor, or part of her head gets cut off and it's not in slow motion. Then it cuts back to slow motion. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, Don? So he doesn't know how to shoot the gore scenes for the most part because he overdoes them. He doesn't know how to use legitimate camera techniques that can actually add something to the film. He just throws them in there just because he can, without any fucking reason other than, well, this looks cool. That's about it. Doesn't get the most out of his actors. He also does not know how to write a story. Don is such a fucking dipshit that he has a legitimately interesting concept with this story, but he does almost completely nothing with it. He does the bare minimum, and that's a big reason why he sucks as a writer, and he sucks at writing scripts. So you have a film called Cult of Chucky. Okay, it's called Cult of Chucky. All right? And there's no cult. All that it ultimately is clones of Chucky's spirit, of Charles Lee Ray's spirit, that have ended up in different good guy dolls. In different various places. That's it. And I guess Jennifer Tilly's character, Tiffany, is a part of this cult. And maybe the other Tiffany doll too, or whatever. But regardless, it's like, that's not a cult. And if that isn't bad enough, you have these other Chuckies. And they're completely boring and dull. Because all they are is just lame copies of Charles Lee Ray. They all have the same personality. There's nothing different about any of them, except for one of them has a bad haircut, and other one is just fucked up and missing parts. It's really about it. There's no different personality quirks. There's no nothing. So you have some potential with that, but it's completely wasted because it's given to such a shitty screenwriter in Don Mancini. I saw a comment from a fan of the franchise online, and he actually had a great idea for this film. He thought that the cult was going to be super fans of Charles Lee Ray who somehow found the ability to transfer their spirits into the body of good guy dolls. So he found a way to transfer. They found a way to transfer their souls into a bunch of good guy dolls, and maybe also found a way to bring back the original Chucky or something, or put Charles Lee Ray's spirit into another doll. And he leads the cult of Chucky, and it's up to Andy and maybe even Kyle to stop him once and for all. That's a great idea. I'd love to see that. That's an issue when you have fans who come up with better stories than the person who is tasked with writing the fucking film. The first hour and 10 minutes, you're left in the dark. Because the first 5 minutes, Chucky's original head is nailed to a board, and Andy is torturing him with a blowtorch. Andy lights a joint. Chucky's head asks for a hit. Andy gives Chucky a hit, and you get to see the scene where Chucky's head smokes a fucking joint, which must have been what... That's Don must have been smoking some shit when he was writing this script. So Chucky's smoking a joint, his head's smoking a joint. Then you cut to the institution. You have Dr. Full of Shit, who honestly, this actor looks like a poor man's Patrick Dempsey, so I'd like to call him Patrick Dumpsey, because he's a fucking dump. And so Michael Theriault, this guy's full of shit. You get a scene where Andy, trying to prove to him that Nika is not crazy, that she actually is telling the truth when it comes to a killer doll killing 7 people that she knew. He brings in the severed head of Chucky that's nailed to a board. He shoots it point blank right in front of Dr. Full of Shit, not once, but 2 times. And Dr. Full of Shit looks at it and is all like, oh, nice job, Andy. You should get a job at Hollywood. You should get a job at Hollywood. That's some great practical effects. That's some nice puppet work, Andy. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, this guy makes Richard Firecrotch from Poltergeist 3 look like a genius in comparison. I mean, this is right in front of him. There's no fucking wires. There's no fucking shit. He even looks at the bottom of the board and sees that there's no fucking wires. And this fucking dumbass is like, ha ha ha, nice job, Andy. You should get a job in Hollywood. I don't know why Don has a job in Hollywood with this type of fucking writing. This type of genius fucking script writing. So you get that. You get a throwaway line where you find out that the girl, the sister of Nika, Angela, oh, she's dead. Just a throwaway line of dialogue from Jennifer Tilly's character, Tiffany. Tiffany just says, she's dead. You have multiple scenes that try to make the audience and the nuts in the nut house believe that Nika, this woman in a wheelchair, killed 7 people, which is beyond retarded if you ask me. That's not even believable in the slightest. I would think even crazy people, even nuts in the nut house, would call bullshit on that. Tiffany says Angela's dead. Chucky gets high. There's good guy dolls who get thrown into the asylum. You have this one chick who apparently lost her son, and she's treating one of the good guy dolls like her kid. She inexplicably gets even crazier as the film goes on, which seems like a really random shift in tone with this character. Nika is getting hypnotized and messed around with by Dr. Full of Shit. Somehow the dolls, I guess somehow the spirit of Charles Lee Ray has entered these good guy dolls that are now in the institution. There's no explanation for this at all for the first hour and 10 minutes until finally there's an exposition dump at the hour and 10 minute mark or so where you get to find out what happened to Angela. Well, Angela was being possessed by Charles Lee Ray's spirit, and he used her body to kill people, and well, something happened. One of the victims ended up killing Angela, and somehow Charles Lee Ray's spirit got out of the body in time. That's not explained what happened. It's just a throwaway line of dialogue that just makes you go like, what? What? And if that isn't bad enough, the explanation for why Chucky's able to jump from body to body like Jason Voorhees and Jason Goes to Hell or the Alien and the Hidden, oh, it's because Chucky went to a website called voodooForDummies.net, found a spell that enabled him to travel from body to body and transfer his spirit and copy it and whatever and go into whatever the fuck he wants. That's how that happened. And you find that shit out over an hour and 10 minutes into the movie for a film that's only like an hour and a half. It makes you want to bash your fucking skull in because of how stupid it is. I can't make up shit this stupid. voodooForDummies.net. Don, you're a dipshit. Stop writing, stop directing, stop making shitty fucking Child's Play sequels, you cum-sucking cocksucker. So yeah, script, huge fucking problem. You have a twist at the end where it just makes everything that has come out of this franchise completely fucking pointless. It makes anything that comes after this film pointless. This twist writes this entire franchise into a black hole. There is no way out unless it ignores this or just does some half-ass prequel. Somehow, Charles Lee Ray's spirit transfers into the body of Nika, and now he's in a human body. In his sister's body, I mean, not his sister, his daughter's body was just some really fucked up shit. I mean, this is the ultimate incest, if you ask me. And he's won. Charles Lee Ray has won. He's in a human body now. He can transfer his spirit to different anything he wants. He can copy his spirit and put it into whatever. He's got an invincible cheat code now. What is even the point of this franchise at this point? He's got a human body they can use to kill. He can transfer his spirit into whatever, so he's basically immortal and invincible now. What the fuck is Andy and Kyle gonna do? And even the ending of the movie is just Kyle coming back to, after the end credits, to torture Chucky's original head some more with a blowtorch. And I'm like, put that shit to my balls. Because you're burning me already, so you might as well burn him the fuck off. Might as well castrate my ass like you fucking castrated this franchise. And shoved the balls up Chucky's ass. It just... What? Fiona Dorff, bless her soul, does a good job with this. But it's, and of course, it's just like, why? What is the point of the franchise now with this fucking ending? Oh, it's different. Yeah, it's different, but that doesn't mean it's a good idea. It doesn't mean it's a good idea. Because now this entire franchise is fucked. It was fucked before, but now it's even more fucked. And if that isn't bad enough, if you like the character, if you like blah blah, I'm having a hard time speaking because I'm so fucking pissed off. This piece of fucking shit. If you like the character of Andy, well, get ready to be fucked in the ass, because he just gets left for dead or just left alone in an asylum. That's how his character arc ends. It started out shitty with him getting dumped by some chick because she did a Google search on him and found out his past. Then he gives Chucky a fucking joint. Then he's going around and finally decides to do something and try to help Nika. And he kills one good guy doll. But then he gets locked in the asylum, so it doesn't fucking mean much. So yeah, it wastes Alex Vincent. And his performance isn't that great either. But he doesn't have shit to work with, so I don't blame him. But he comes across as a poor man's Sean Astin in this, to be honest. Oh, and apparently Tiffany, the doll, she's alive now. Somehow there's another fucking doll, because she starts laughing in the back seat by the end of the movie. Oh, and of course Don has to have his script feature lesbians, because he's got a lesbian fetish. He's got a thing for lesbians, which I can understand, but it just seems random at this point, because now Tiffany and Nika, who is possessed by the spirit of Charles Lee Ray, kiss each other. They get in a car, they laugh, and they drive off, and everybody's fucked. There's a scene in the film where there's this chick who thinks that the good guy doll is her kid, and she's carrying it outside, and Nika's looking out there, and the Child's Play doll is looking back at Nika, and it flips her off. That's what this franchise and what Don Mancini is doing to me and a lot of other fans of this franchise, flipping us off. Trying to think of other things to say about this shit. So you have that scene. There's a scene where Chucky literally gets buried. There's a good guy doll that gets buried symbolically, and I'm like, wow, like that is, that's perfect, because this is essentially the funeral of this franchise. And because of how awful this script is, how shitty, spectacularly shitty the screenplay is, the film has horrible pacing. It's extremely slow. It's excruciatingly slow. I had to stop it like 40 minutes in because I was getting a headache because of how boring and uninspired and insipid it was. And then the kills aren't much. The lines of dialogue, the one-liners, all suck. The film even has a scene where Dr. Full of Shit is trying to hypnotize Nika, and he's doing it with the same technique that was used in Exorcist 2. I'm like, really? You're breaking out the strobe lights? I already have a fucking headache. Now you're giving me a migraine with this shit. I feel like my head's gonna explode, and you're giving me fucking strobe lights in my face? Along with shitty direction and writing by Don Mancini and all this other bullshit, now you're giving me strobe lights. Fuck you. I don't know what else to say. Because I pretty much listed off all the main problems of the film. The direction, the writing, the performances by anyone else in the cast other than Fiona Dourif are forgettable or lame. Not much to them. Brad Dourif sounds bored. The editing is like, what? What is up with the split screen? What is up with this shit? The score doesn't add anything to the film. The cinematography looks like a direct-to-video movie, which is exactly what it is, but that's not an excuse. And then you have an ending which is like, well, Chucky's won. What's the fucking point of anything now? There's no point to anything after this point. It's fucking pointless. Oh, Alice is back, Christine Elise is back as Kyle. Not Alice. So, Kyle, and she's just gonna go in and torture Chucky's head for a little bit? What the fuck is that gonna do? What's the point of that? What is the point of this? Might as well be torturing my ass. You might as well have severed my head, stuck it on a fucking plank of wood, and stuck fucking needles and nails and shit into my face, and blowtorch my face off while you're fucking at it, because that's exactly what it felt like while watching this fucking crap. I'm done. I got nothing else to say about this film. I got nothing else to say about this franchise. It's fucking dead to me. And Dawn, you're a fucking dipshit. Fuck you. Get the fuck out of this franchise. You don't belong here anymore. You're ruining it for everybody. You are a hack. You are a piece of shit. You are a cocksucker. You are a cum slut. You are a dumb fuck. You are a dead fuck. And you fucking suck.